We're Olympics. We're here. It's the Olympics.
Yeah.
I just said we're the Olympics. We're not the Olympics.
What's
up, man?
I mean, we would win a gold medal for best streaming show in golf.
You're a little quiet. Is your mic turned down low?
Hear me now?
Yeah. You
Is that better?
No, yeah, it's better. We talked about it today in the office and said if you had a year to qualify for an event in the Olympics, what would you attempt to qualify for? And really, there's nothing you can. I mean, it'd have to be some sort of shooting. It couldn't be track. It couldn't be swimming. It couldn't be. You couldn't make the golf team. You couldn't make basketball. You couldn't make any other sports that require physical activity.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, does it have to be winter or summer? Because I could be like light enough.
I could do curling. I could dominate curling in a year. Yes.
Like curling could be one, or I was also thinking like you're right with the archery or the shooting. I was also thinking like I could be like the third guy that doesn't do anything except push in the beginning of the bobsled race, and this is like, or like the 2-man luge. I'm like the guy that receives, like just.
You're the lucky Pierre.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's about it. But my highlight.
But I don't. What's that?
I was just saying, I've had 2 highlights so far. Number one, like Rich Lerner, who always calls golf, is calling gymnastics, which I think is kind of funny if you're NBC. And the second thing is Snoop Dogg calling anything is hysterical. So if you haven't seen Snoop Dogg, it's great.
Who's calling swimming? It's Rowdy, and it's our golf guy, right?
Yeah, it's Dan Hicks. Yeah.
Dan Hicks. He does a good job.
Yeah. He's better at that than he is at golf.
Yes. I didn't want to say it, but you did. So I don't mind. I mean, the Olympics this week, the contests for DraftKings are actually very good. DraftKings partner, by the way, we're on Pure Sports. So I don't think I'm not going to see a drop off in lack of interest. If you just take the Discord by a measurement in terms of this week, people are still kind of jacked for the Olympics and Olympic golf. My concern is, because I started this, I said, let's just go live and talk about it, is that 4 top golfers put their goals for this week, their favorite sport, Olympic sport, blah, 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 in terms of what they think about the Olympics. Rory's was gold. I want to win a gold. That's my goal this week. Matt Fitzpatrick was gold. I want to win a gold. Yeah. Shane Lowry was I want to win a gold. And Scotty Scheffler was I want to have fun. And if you've seen the content around Scheffler this week, he looks like he is a TV sitcom dad just hanging out in Paris like it's European vacation, which is super cool. And maybe having fun for Scotty Scheffler is winning, right? But when he said the goal this week was just to have fun, that gave me a little bit of pause. Also gave me pause is that Rory's favorite Olympic sport is dressage.
I mean,
is that just being elitist?
Well, if there's one thing Rory's good at,
okay,
fill in the blank.
Fair enough.
Which is interesting because of where he came from. But you know what? Life's a long journey. There's a big question that needs to be answered this week, and it'll be the theme of our discussion or any discussion you have or any discussion I have surrounding this week and any discussion I have next week considering the women at the Olympics, right? And that is that what's everyone's motivation? Are they treating this as an exhibition? Are they there to see the Mona Lisa with their baby and wife, or are they there to, basically make something out of their year? Are they there to compete? How are they treating this tournament? All of that. I mean, we don't have to go far back to understand the history of all this. Remember in 2016, Rory didn't want to go. He wanted nothing to do with the Olympics. He thought it was a joke.
He was very vocal about it. He didn't just want to go. He said, what did he say? It doesn't interest me at all. It's not a real event. He was very critical. I thought it was one of the worst moments. I thought it was one of the worst moments for something that people should be proud of for Rory to say. I thought it was one of his worst moments.
Yeah, and it really disenfranchised him from a lot of those Irish players at the time, like Paddy Harrington and Darren Clark and everything, where it was like, whoa, like what, like just kind of go with the flow, dude. But
yeah, we're proud to be there. Right.
Well, but this is my point. Go back to 2016. Can you name the 4 guys we sent
in 2016?
In 2016 to Rio, who went? There was 4 guys that went from the United States. Can you name them?
Ricky Fowler.
Correct.
Good God. I mean.
Okay, one of them just came in third this weekend.
Was it Justin Thomas?
No, he said no. He didn't go. But now, one of them came in third this week at the 3M, and he won the bronze down in Rio, and that's Matt Kuchar. Now, get ready for the next 2. Are you sitting down? The next 2. Bubba Watson.
Yeah.
And Patrick Reed.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought you were going to say Ollie Schneidergens. There you go, Mitch. Nice double last week.
Oh, yeah. Read the line.
There's something. Yeah, read the line. There was something about 2016 where golfers just said, we're too cool for this. This is not, it's not real. It's not a real competition. But Ricky's like, fuck it. I'll get this shit tattooed on my bicep or whatever he did.
Yeah.
Cool. And now everyone's on board because USA is stacked.
Again, even remember it was during COVID in 21, and Bryson got sick at the last moment, and they sent Patrick Reed again, because they couldn't get people to go, and now all of a sudden it's like chic to do this, right? And everybody's over there, and everybody's wearing their country colors and everything. But I still have the same question, which is, what is your motivation for being there? Is it an exhibition? Are you taking your family over there? And because an Olympics, to visit, that's a bucket list thing. And the access that they would have as athletes would be extraordinary, versus you and I running around on shuttle buses and ready to kill ourselves. Right. Amongst all these French people. So it would be no, man, dude,
trying to be professional canoers or some shit.
And so I just, I get that they'll go through all of the press conferences and all of that and everything, but it's not, there's nothing normal about it. Right. And they're not getting the same amount of practice time they normally would. They're not getting the same amount of off time they normally would. So I think in a lot of ways that kind of levels the field. And if you could figure out who the most motivated people are based upon maybe prior performances in similar events like this, or just who looks like they're really motivated or who has the most to gain from playing well this week, I think that's the one strokes gained Olympics, stat that, I wish we had a spreadsheet on. Because
I think when Xander won it, I think it's hyper cool to have an Olympic medal. I think that's just rarefied air. So
sure,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
I think if you want to add, I think Scheffler would like to have a gold, like Schauffele has a gold. I think that the other element here for motivation is the South Koreans, Tom Kim and Ben On, who Tom Kim pretty much younger than Ben On.
Yeah.
But their motivation and Tom Kim finished 6th at Le Golf National last year in the Kazoo Open or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But he medals in an Olympic event. So does Ben On. Then they can avoid mandatory military service, which is, we've seen a lot of guys, their careers go backwards when they do that.
Yeah.
So if they medal here, they avoid that. They could do it in the Asian Games too, which Sung Jae Im got silver, I believe.
You got to get gold in the Asian, and you can get any medal.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, because he won gold at the Asian last year.
He won silver.
He won silver?
Yeah, he didn't win gold.
Ooh.
I think it's just medal. I really think it's just medal.
Medal in either one, then. We'll call it that.
But I would say that from a motivation, do you want to do a 2-year or 4-year military mandatory service in South Korea or get a medal? Tom Kim's going to be hunting a medal.
I've been banging that drum all week. What was that guy? He went over to Europe last year for 2 events, the BMW and this, while the Ryder Cup was going on, right? He traveled over. And, he has very little to do with the Ryder Cup, obviously, because he's from South Korea. But, it was a time when he should have been having downtime. And then all of a sudden he flew back.
Why is he playing the kazoo?
Well,
Right.
but again, he was asked at the time, because there was a bunch of media over here. He was asked at the time, he said, "Why are you here?" And he said, "This is a preview for next summer." So over like a year ago, this guy was thinking about this week. So to your point, I mean, it's worth a look. The guy, we know what his motivation is. And
Right.
it's a good course fit. And we've seen him in international competition be the emotional leader of that President's Cup team in 2022. I was there on the property at Charlotte. The guy was electric, and he was 20 years old at the time.
And the other thing is too, and I think we talked about this in a year when maybe one of these South Koreans was close or did medal. Can you think about like if let's just say hypothetically, if Tom Kim is playing with someone and they're fighting for a bronze and they're down to their final putt fighting for the bronze, does the non-South Korean player let him have it? Right.
Oof.
I mean, I mean, you have to think about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the guy's life,
It's his career.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's his life, versus a bronze, Yeah, I mean, I get it. Okay,
so your big studs up top. You've got Xander Scheffler from a DraftKings standpoint. A lot of the people in the Discord, we've been talking about it all week. It's very difficult to build quality lineups starting with Scheffler. In that a lot of the guys sub-7, and there are exceptions. Grillo, that's the proper pronunciation. Nick Taylor, tour players, Jaeger, tour winning players, can be viable options. But other than that, you get a lot of guys who wouldn't get a scratch at the PGA Tour now competing against the best in the world at a course that demands pretty good accuracy off the tee, good scrambling. Yeah. And so Scheffler, I'm looking for any downside to Scheffler to say, no, I just don't believe he's going to top 3 or medal or even top 5. Do you believe that?
Okay, 30 guys in the field have never played there before in competition. That's half the field. There's 30 rookies, 30 course rookies. All 4 Americans are course rookies. None of those guys, as great as they are, they weren't there in 2018. In fact, Scheffler was the 12th guy on the team in 2021 at Whistling Straits, and everybody complained.
Yeah.
And since then, he's been, a superhero. Of the 6 guys at the top, only 2 have course experience. That's Rory and Rahm. Rory's got a 4th and a 3rd there. Rahm's got a 10th and a 5th or something. So, I have to lean towards people that know that golf course because it's a quirky golf course. And yes, it's not going to play like it did in the Ryder Cup, where Eduardo Molinari sets up the golf course to specifically hurt the American team, and then we play the exact same way we always do, and it hurts the American team. A podcast conversation for another day. But my point is that I think Rahm and Rory at the top of the board have a huge advantage here. Now, Rory's been on vacation. So, and again, dressage. That says a lot. And that I have battle wounds from
fancy wine and fancy restaurants.
Well, from the last 2 weeks. So Rory would be one and EVR would be another. Those people, they're on the Keith Mitchell list. They just don't have as many weeks, but they're going to have a long, long time on that list, right? And at the end of the day, you got to lean towards Rahm at the top of the board. And
that's my one. That's my one.
It's tough to go against Scotty to medal, right? But it's easy for me to go against him not to win when Rahm is in this level of form. And let's be honest, Rahm, outside of Xander, probably played the best at Royal Troon and finished 7th. But he was in the bad wave, and he was in some bad weather.
And then he goes back next week, non-important live event, and wins and felt really good about it. Like this, 10,000 pounds of cinder blocks are off his back. I think he comes out here and smashes. I mean, Spain hasn't had a great Olympics when he loved to get a gold medal for Spain. I would say out of that category, in the Rahm, Rory, Xander, Scheffler, he's got 2 top 10s here at this course in tournament play. I would say Rahm is my one. I think he's going to roll right in from last week, right in this tournament, and dominate.
The one thing about Rahm that most people probably wouldn't pick up on it, because all they do is see him play golf. When he is around the golf course, he makes you uneasy. He is always on edge. He always has a chip on his shoulder. He always acts like he has something to prove. In the press room, on the practice range, everything. He is all business. Very much so. All business all the time. You ask him a dumb question in the press room, you are going to get barbecued, right? And he just creates this really, really sense of anxiety around him, right? Okay. How do you think he feels?
Give me an example. How does he make you feel? How does he do it?
I mean, first of all, he's a big, bad-looking bull of a guy, right? Yeah. And he's really, really good. And he just acts very short with everyone, right? Almost like he, when everyone last year went down that path after he had won 4 times and he won the Masters, and then he kind of slumped for a little bit because he only had top 10s, and everyone was questioning his putting. And he's like, well, if you really look at the stats, I'm really not that bad or whatever. People kept pressing him on that. And he was basically yelling at them in the press room. And I'm in there and I'm like, man, this is really uncomfortable. Now I get that journalists, that's their job to make people uncomfortable, but he still has to prove. The Live London thing means nothing. Okay. Nothing. The Troon thing does, but he gets a bonus event this year to prove that he's better than the big 3, because he's been out of that conversation for 10 months. Right. And
but I also think it's a lot of pressure on him and Liv, because they give him so much money that he's the flagship for the event, and he wasn't performing well. I do believe there's a lot of political and financial pressure on him to beat guys like Andy Ogletree on the Saudi tour and Liv, and it kind of was a relief for him. He took the bag.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I really think he's just focused on the Xanders and the Scotties and the Rorys of the world. He has not beaten those guys this year, and he's equally as good, and that's important to him. And unlike the Collins and the Scotties and everything, he's not going to the Louvre. He lives over there. He'll go there anytime. He's probably seen it before. So he's not there, on an exhibition museum tour, right? He's there to play golf. And I think that gives him an edge. And I think he's really, really motivated.
I remember when he had an interview at the Masters a couple of years ago, maybe pre-win, when he told that Tiger story about how Tiger ignored him one time.
Yeah. Yep.
You know that?
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know what? Fuck you, Tiger. I thought, is he really edge seeking right now? But to say that to Tiger about Tiger on the holy ground where Tiger built over the last 25 years, I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great anecdotal story, because that perfectly summarizes the way that guy walks around a property. And a big difference there was at the U.S. Open press conference. In the room, he was super laid back, and I was like, this guy's wearing a flip flop or a sandal, and he's laid back. I was like, this guy's not playing this week. There's no way, right? He's way too casual about this. This was come in because I won in 2021, give my respect to the USGA, and then I'm out of here. Right, type of thing. So
that's the question. I mean, Aubert played better early than his finish would dictate or tell at the Open. Scotty couldn't make any putts, and then he had that horrific final hole, and now we see him just basically having a European vacation.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess. Talk about what this course demands and then relate that to Scotty.
I think, everyone's going to talk about you have to hit the fairway, but I think pre that mode, you have to decide where you're going to hit the fairway. And that's why I go back to the 30 rookies thing. The guys that have played there before and they've proven to themselves that they can hit the fairway, they can hit those greens. Because there's no sight lines on this golf course. There's 3 holes that have trees on them, and those are all up near the green. So in a lot of cases, it's like trying to go out and play a positional golf course where you don't really have any targets off the tee, and there's some forced layups and there's some places you could be, aggressive. And I think that the rough, and I think that the Olympic Golf Committee would want there to be scoring. Rose won at 16, Xander won at 18. Average winning score here in the Kazoo is over the last 5 years is 12 under par. I think it'll be more like a 16 to 17 type deal. And I think that if you've played there before and you already know your game plan on that golf course in the conditions of the Open de France, then I think that you have a huge advantage. And I think that goes for almost all of those Europeans, especially the Europeans that like consistently play the DP World Tour, which is where you guys are going to make the meat of your money in DFS. Like that's where you're like, I know we're having a conversation about the gold and then maybe gold, silver, bronze right now,
right?
But like, I would really be leaning into the guys that have a great course history there because it's a quirky place. Like there's some holes you have to lay up on. There's some holes you can be aggressive on. And like,
you see these DP World Tour players show up. I mean, at European events. I mean, that's why, Baba was talking about in Discord, are you following Alex Noren? Because he's a winner here. I'm following Alex Noren, because he's a winner here. But Alex Noren was dominant on European soil when he played in the Euro Tour. And he won here. And he's arguably one of the top players on tour right now. I mean, he's playing that well. So, I believe Alex Noren can get a medal this week.
Oh, totally. And here's the thing. We had this conversation before the Scottish. So the Wednesday before the Scottish, I brought up the fact that like 45% of the guys that are going to make the cut are going to be DP World Tour guys. And you were like, yeah, of course. Like they're used to that over there, right? And I think this is a similar situation. I think the guys that are going to be ultra competitive are the guys that are just used to being in that environment and used to playing that golf course. This is a big championship. It's the French Open per se, right? It's one of the bigger ones on the European tour. So like this isn't like the Scandinavian mixed, you know what I mean, is my point. Like in the fall, this is a big event. It comes right around the time of the BMW, which is when the big guys are playing. So like I think that if you're not laying into the strokes gained history of the guys on the DP World Tour that are really, really good here, like a Noren, right? Then
Fleetwood
like, well,
come on.
How about Guido? I was going to say Guido.
Guido Migliotti?
Yeah. The -5 guy from Troon. Now,
that's the one thing that concerns me about Guido is because everyone is chasing that course history, but he's priced more than PGA Tour winning golfers and recent PGA Tour winning golfers. And that's kind of threatening to me for a guy that, is not as good as those guys week to week.
Yeah.
Do you believe that much in course history that you take a stab at him at 7,500?
Yeah, and he's also played well recently.
Mm-hmm.
I think both the Italians are super live this week. I think Matteo more so than Guido. But I think both of them are very live in this event.
Matteo's playing awesome.
Oh, 200 to 1 to win. I bet him. Write it down.
One of our guys, Jeffrey, his screen name eludes me. I got to stop doing thumbs up somehow. One of our guys won the RPS logo, won the 20K in the Eagle last week. Give him a shout out. I will give him a shout out if I get his name. But yes, I recall that. That was in our Discord. So he won the 20K Eagle last week with an RPS logo. So kudos to our team.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
I'm happy with Sunday, to say the least.
Absolutely. The hottest name.
I got an email this morning. Read the line email. Some guy likes to parlay.
Dox him.
Some guy likes to parlay my outright picks for the LPGA and the PGA Tour. So he put $10 on Lauren Coughlin and Johnny Vegas to win.
Oh wow.
$10. Guess what? Guess how much roughly?
I mean, that would have been an insane amount. Probably 6 figures.
No. Well, $100 would have been 6 figures, but $10 was 33 grand.
Yeah.
Imagine $10 on a 40 to 1 first time winner on the LPGA.
Changed his life.
And an 80 to 1 winner who hadn't won in 7 years. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I love it.
We're having fun.
Antonio asked this question: how will the course play differently in the summer than the fall?
Well, it's soft over there right now. It's humid and it's super hot for Paris, right? So it's going to play like a swamp. It's not going to be firm and fast. It's certainly not going to be anything like that Ryder Cup. And the way that people attack that Ryder Cup too is, it's a difference in you have a teammate, but you want to go over Fleetwood. And I can't believe someone hasn't brought this up. I watched the show on Monday and you guys didn't bring this up. Yeah, Fleetwood won there in 2017. He's played there 6 times. Could you tell me about the other 5 finishes?
Yeah.
I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. The other 5 finishes are miscut, and then I don't have deeper history. But
miscut, and one more miscut.
Okay.
5 miscuts and a win.
So
and you want to go 20
I
to 1?
didn't say I wanted to. I just said that he was a European that has won here, and you were on that wavelength.
True.
I've quit Tommy Fleetwood. I'm not on him anymore. He's too expensive. I mean, I'd rather play Morikawa.
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes more sense.
I mean, to me, in that high range, it's Rahm Morikawa.
Yes. No, I don't know, man.
Xander?
I think Xander. I would go Xander second there. I go Rahm Xander.
Okay.
You know, some lessons I learned the hard way. Xander's been one of them this year. Rory's been another. You know, EVR last week. Stuff happens. You know,
I was jumping around, but I believe that EVR is in the spot. Had he done well last week at $7K was a terrible price. I think a flop leg's in order for EVR here. I would have the guts to go back to him. People love Bazendahut. People are going to Thor and the Frenchman Victor Perez.
So
I'd say an EVR.
Thunder Bear has really good history there, and he played in that 2018 Ryder Cup, so he's got to have good vibes. You know. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, he's got great stroke gain history there. He's up there with Migliocci, and I mean, Rahm's got great history there. Obviously, Rory does too, but they have a much more limited number of rounds. Yeah, I would go in that kind of conversation. I think going after Thunder Bear. He got played in 3 majors this year. He played well in all of them.
Does this mean nothing this week? No, I don't think it means nothing at all. I think it's important.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know the greens are 7,500 square feet, but you're just coming at them from weird angles, and without a lot of course familiarity, you're gonna miss some shots. And I think it'll be valuable. I think scrambling will play a role. Well, especially since the fact that it's got a couple weird par 4s. So everyone always thinks of around the green as saving par. And that's 50% of the conversation. But when you have those par 5s that you get next to and 2, and then you have to scramble to make birdie, and then you have to scramble on these short par 4s that they have a couple of on this golf course, then, you know, all of a sudden now all of that short game acumen is applicable for scoring, not just for saving par. And it's the same skill set. So I think ARG is a very, very significant strokes gain category this week for sure.
Dietrich is real popular with Ghost Jammed and the Discord too. I mean, I love Dietrich. I think he reminds me of Adam Scott off the tee, and just in terms of his overall style.
Yep. Very, very good putter, very good course history there, very good driver of the golf ball.
Yeah.
And we loved him going into Scotland, or the Scottish Open. And you know, I think Dietrich would be a really good first round leader. But his staying power, golly, all year.
I know.
It's really been bothersome, you know,
Pebble Beach.
When last week when I went after Stuart Sink at the bottom of the barrel, right? Yeah. And he played 36 holes really, really well. Yep. And you were like, Stuart Sink, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, it seemed kind of odd to me that he could have played at Carnoustie. The guy has won an Open championship. He could have played the Senior Open there. He certainly would have been in the field if he wanted to be. He's a former Open champion, right? And he didn't play the Champions Tour, and he went to Minnesota to play in the 3M. So he thought he could win on the tour, is what it came down to. That's the only reason you would do that, because then he would get he won twice in that 1 year 3 years ago, and you get a 3-year exemption for that. That's running out. So he's using every single tour stop he can in order to get his card again to be on tour. Doesn't matter. He's 52. That's what he wants to do. So I thought that was going to play out well, and it probably played out well as it should for a 50-something-year-old guy, because he fatigued towards the end. I don't know what the reason is with Dietrich, right? The guy's a young stud. He should play better deeper into tournaments, and he's just not. I don't know. Might be a really nice.
I love the disdain the disdain you had when you said playing in Minnesota. Minnesota.
I mean, for the 3M,
right?
And the guy could have played at Carnoustie in a major. It's just like you got to ask yourself, like, why is he?
TBC Twin Cities is the Carnoustie of Minnesota. I'm just telling you.
You said all week last week it wasn't even in the Twin Cities. It was in Blaine.
I know. I'm just being obnoxious. I'm trying to stir you up. Carl Smokeroom, Ben on bronze. I mean, he's in the same spot as Tom Kim, I believe. I don't believe he's medaled in the Olympics or any sort of games. So
he's actually worse because he's like
he's a
9
dad?
years old.
Yeah.
Well, he's like 9 years older than Tom Kim, and they only get till 35. So he's got to put the clubs in the garage soon.
In a vacuum, do you like Sepp? Yes, I do like Sepp.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fall for any of the vacuum tricks.
Okay, I do like Sepp. Yes, I think
Sepp makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. The other one is we briefly touched on was Aubert.
Okay.
He has played here. I believe he has a top 10. Talk to me, Wiley. I think a 7th. I'm just gonna say that. But
I don't think he's played here. I think he's one of the 30 rookies.
Wrong. He played in the Eisenhower Trophy in 2022 at the International Golf Federation, August 31st. Finished 7th. Now, I don't know what that field was like. I can look it up. But I think
Ghost Jam was in that field.
Yeah, Ghost Jam was in that field. He finished 5th. By the way, Ghost Jam's name may be Andy. Rumor.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like Saving Private Ryan when they try to figure out where he's, where the captain's from. It'll be forever a Discord joke. That and your birthday. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thanks. Birthdays come out once a year.
Hey, or once a Discord, depending on your.
All right, who else do you like? Who's your top 5? Who's in Keith's top 5?
I think
some dust balls in there.
What worries me about Aubert, just to close that conversation real quick, is the short game aspect of it. I think it's going to play a role this week, and I think he needs more.
You didn't like what you saw at the Open? No,
I don't like what I saw in Scotland more so than the Open. I mean, everyone that was in the bad weather wave, if they just threw in the towel, I'm not happy with them, but I don't blame them. You know what I mean? It was tough. It didn't work out. Sorry, but what happened at the Scottish Open there at the Renaissance Club was much more troublesome to me. He was bothered by Bobby Mack's pace of play. He didn't close well. He played bad all day. It wasn't just down the stretch. I mean, he started poorly and he finished poorly. So that gives me pause about Aubert, that he's figuring out how to take that next step in his career. As I move further down there, I talked about Tommy. The 5 cuts really is
bothering you.
Is weird. I get the win. But that's like a Cam Champ or Jim Herman type of thing. I'm like, I'm going to play.
English can't win a medal here.
I'm going to play Kevin Kisner at Wyndham next week because he's won there before. And the guy hasn't made a cut, since your last birthday. And, but the guys in that range, I love Tom Kim. I love the Irish Bear. And a lot of that comes down to familiarity with the golf course.
Hits fairways. Great scrambling.
Guy hits fairways with the driver. So he just doesn't do it positionally. He does it with the driver. He showed it at Royal Troon.
Guy hits every fairway. It's sick. I mean,
at his size and at his length, and he's been great with the approach game. And then everyone says, he can't putt, but he's gained positively with the putter in his last 3. Troon, Travelers, U.S. Open. It's been really nice with the putter, gaining 2.5, 3 strokes on average per event. And the guy was the flag bearer. He wins at Troon
if he didn't have that Saturday putting. The Saturday putting was just an anomaly.
Yeah.
That was just insane. I mean, otherwise he wins. I mean,
if not, he's certainly close. I mean, I don't know if anyone beat Xander on Sunday, but he maybe comes in second. He's up there with Horschel. And I feel again, what's your motivation this week? When it was 2019 at Portrush, we hadn't seen an Open Championship there for 60 years. The first hole of the championship, Rory was the total focal point of the tournament, and he ejected. Remember, he made an 8. It was over. It was okay, well, that was great. So who from Ireland is going to do this? You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, out of the ashes of McIlroy comes Shane Lowry. He embraces it all week, and he handles it all day Sunday with Fleetwood there, with Brooks there, with all those guys coming at him in terrible weather, and he gets the job done. I think in these emotional type of events, Ryder Cups, Olympics, etc., I think that Shane Lowry is your flag bearer, like he was for Ireland on the boat last Friday night. And I think that he is a guy that has this skill. And I'm not saying this just because, like, hey, let's go
he
bet
kind of
people.
gets salty on the course too. I mean, he kind of is almost.
Oh yeah, he's edgy.
Yeah,
like Rahm is edgy. But like, I'm not just. Let's just start this way. If I say anybody this week, I think they are a very good course fit. All right. On top of that, what is their motivation? I think Shane Lowry's motivated.
Yeah.
I think he wants to win a medal for his country. I think it's important to people outside of the United States to win medals. I think if you're a guy like Abe Answer from Mexico, and this is a good course fit, that you might be a little bit more motivated to work hard this week, because it says a lot to take that back to your country. It says a lot for Rahm to take it back to Spain.
Listen,
it says nothing for Scotty to take that gold medal back.
And being from another country, beating America at anything, it doesn't matter if we want a bronze in America. It's like finally, because you're always listening to Americans win. You're winning everything, and you just have something that you can hang your hat on. I agree.
Like Corey Connors, great fit,
right?
Great fit.
Canada would love to medal here in the golf and beat the Americans. I'm just telling you that. They look at it in hockey, look at it in anything.
Let me ask you this, right? If he had a bronze medal, okay?
Yes.
And come Royal Montreal, Corey Connors is going to be on that team. There's no doubt about it, right? Okay? If he would bring the medal out, right?
Yeah.
Canada would have him bring it out and be like, hey, look, I got a silver and you guys didn't.
They built a monument to Nick Taylor for winning the Canadian Open at it Royal St. George?
Well, he won it at Oakdale Golf and Country Club, right?
Yeah. That was a test. You passed. Good job.
Okay.
Great work.
Toronto, yes.
But they built a monument to him. So yeah, I agree. There is an incentive for these other countries to have USA not medal, because we're running away with it again. So there's one more question here I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be in Keith's top 5, but I got on you before the show. I said, do not pump your Perez Pavone guys just because they're French, but you have the right to pump them.
I think Perez over Pavone. That's all I'll say. They also gave him the first tee shot, too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Cowardly French. Always.
He's in the first group on the tee times. I assume he would be the guy that would hit the ball. I mean, otherwise the French Golf Federation is like missing something. I don't know.
I don't think this is the case, Joe. I don't think he's going to come under owned. I think Morikawa will likely be the highest owned. And there was another question on Sharma. I think that there's going to be a pretty good distribution of these 6K guys because no one really stands out. I think Sharma maybe in the 7 to 10% range. Matty Schmid.
Yeah. Playing good lately.
Played fantastic last week. I don't know about his short game or his putting. Actually, I do. It's not great. But his ball striking, his iron play was fantastic. He really competed well. And even on Sunday at the 3M in a big boy tournament. So
hey, I love Manacero, and he's not a good putter, but he's been so good in ball striking lately. A couple of the guys that in my research there on the Golf National, looking through a ton of like DP World Tour stuff, Ryan Fox has been really good there over the years. So take that for what it is.
He's so terrible off the tee, though, in terms of accuracy. Does that bother you?
He hits the ball with a shut. He hits the ball with a shut club face and can just pinch it out there and hit those like little bleeder cuts. I'm giving you. I'm not betting Ryan Fox, but I'm telling you of a list of people who have great strokes gained history there. He is one of them. He's also one of the 4 guys that played in all 3 Olympics now.
You know who I'm tired of seeing bleeder cuts from, or these giant peelers, is Tagala off the tee. He cannot hit it well off the tee.
He's just trying to find fairways because the rest of his game, is
the creative Tagala is not showing up. Plus, he put that new putter in his bag, and it was horrendous for a lot of. I mean, he was missing putts down the stretch they should have missed. Tagala was really frustrating to me.
Yeah, one of the reasons I was on Vegas last week is because he'd been using this new lab putter and he'd been putting better. And my golf WRX
wasn't bad. Made some touch 10 footers like that par 5 coming down the stretch. That was his tournament.
96-foot 2-putt. I mean, that was a lot on the last hole over that ridge. It was pretty good. I like a guy who he's again one of these 4 guys that's
Is
played
this
in
your
all the
top 5, by the way?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if that I could get to a top 5 in this event with this many
Continue on.
people.
Sorry, go ahead.
Without it being like Xander, Scotty, and sounding
Right, sure.
like nauseatingly chalky. But so 4 guys have played in all of these. Fox was one of them. CT Pan's another. Gavin Green's another one. And then the 4th guy is Fabrizio Zanotti.
Fabrizio Zanotti.
I knew you'd love it, right? From Paraguay. And he has a really good sounds. It's a bit hyperbole. He has a very above average course history there at Le Golf National.
Yeah.
And there's
He's
a guy
a great putter too.
Yes, and he's way down the board. He's at like 62 or 6,300.
Yeah.
So if you want to play Scotty, I think Zanotti is the option at the bottom of the board that still gives you some flexibility. I took him.
Zanotti ticket.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's why you're in marketing.
Gavin Green, though, honestly, is
Malaysia. Weird.
He's Malaysian. He is a guy that Thursday morning you show up and he's -8 through 11 and you don't know why. He can be a very good ball striker. Now, you want to talk about guys who regress? He'll start regressing about hole 17, but it's fun while it lasts. So
yeah. So I'm into Zanotti this week. I'm into the narrative that he's been to a bunch of Olympics. He has a routine there. He's used to it. He's used to these wild weeks, and then he likes the golf course. He's played well on the golf course, and he's a good enough course fit. So at the bottom of the board, I knew you were going to come at me and say, hey, like if these guys want to play Scotty or whatever, Keith, you always give me a good guy at the bottom of the board. So, I mean, Stuart Sink didn't pan out for my top 40 bet last week, but he was one shot off of that. But the guy made the cut and he scored a lot of points for people. So, you know, like it wasn't a failing pick, you know, Manacero at Royal Troon, it worked, you know, so
very effective.
Yeah. So I think Zanotti can be very effective paired with your Scotty or your Xander.
Lucky Lucas 77 or Discord. I asked a very legitimate question live. I said, what was the name of the person with the RPS logo that won the $20,000 Eagle contest? Because I would like to mention him on the show. And he goes, Drew. His name's Drew. I was like, okay, Drew. He goes, Drew P. Balls. I was like, Drew P. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So thank you, Discord, for all your help here live. Lucky Lucas 77. Who else do you like? Sorry. Zanotti from Paraguay.
I'm thinking about this question here. Does Xander come in under owned? I think he does. I think again he comes in under the radar. I think Rory won't be very well owned, but I think Rahm will be heavily owned. I think Scotty will be obviously heavily owned. I think Morikawa will be super heavily owned. Tom Kim will be super heavily owned. Fleetwood will be super heavily owned.
People are jonesing on Bezetta, who has a withdraw and it hasn't looked great. I don't know if I believe in the ownership projections, but people are keying on Bez right now.
Well, but people don't understand golf. They just look at spreadsheets and they run models, right? And then when they do that, these guys pop, and then they're all of a sudden they're surprised when they're awful, you know. Right. And hey, I make mistakes too, but I'm at least basing it 50% on how the guy plays. I mean, here's a quick example. Back up in Canada last week, okay? Earl Grey Golf Club, 156 woman field for the Women's Canadian Open, okay? I've got no statistical data. I've got no golf course historical data. It was the 50th Women's Canadian Open. They've never played at Earl Grey Golf Club in Calgary before, okay? I'm completely on my own with a field that's average at best, right? Because a lot of ladies just stayed over in Paris because they have just been over here for the Evian. Right? They were in France. So why would Nelly go back and forth? She's not going to, right? Like, so there's no heavy hitters there, right? On the final day with 3 holes to go, I had 2 of the top 3 players. They were all tied for the lead. And the only one I didn't have was the tournament favorite because I wasn't going to take her at 10-1. So like at some point you have to understand how golf is played in order to figure these things out. Right. Sure. So like just what you said there is extremely thoughtful about like, what's Bezuidenhout been up to? Because if you just go back 36 rounds, right, then you're like, oh, like all these guys pop off the page sometime, and like some of them just haven't been very good lately. Whereas a guy like Rahm has been like extraordinary lately, and he's never going to pop because he's got all live stats.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I think a lot of times people get too caught in the computer and they're not looking at the conversation around some of these guys and what's really happening. So,
I mean, the best form in the field is Xander. I don't think he's going to become under the radar at all. I don't. I think sometimes people could talk themselves out of it with him, but no. I mean, I think Scheffler, Schauffele, Rahm, and Morikawa will all be very highly owned. Period. Well, continue your list. You said Zanotti, Scotty.
Grillo down there.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think Grillo is an unfair price to him. He played well at 3M. He gets the ball to the green. I think that sub 7K for Grillo is kind of a deal. I think the market sees it too. So,
yeah, I think at the bottom of the board you're going to see a lot of activity around him. You're probably going to see a lot of activity around Guido, and with good reason. I think that's a good one. I think you'll see a lot of activity around Noren, and there's good reason for that. But there's
people
probably some
talk about Noren, but I mean, like I could see Noren meddling. Not that it matters in this format, which I wish DraftKings partner. I wish DraftKings would have had a bonus for meddling. Not meddling.
So the only book I could find that had top 3 was Bet365.
Yeah,
which I thought was a miss by everybody else, just putting in their textbook top 5. I'm like, just to meddle, because it would raise the odds. It would make it more attractive to say like, oh man, I could get Tom Kim to meddle at Bet365 for 7-1. I'm taking it.
We'll have to edit that out. The DraftKings goons show up at your house and just pull you from your chair.
It wouldn't be the first time. Let me tell you, you're winning 40-1 on the LPGA. They definitely know who you are.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
All right, Noren, Zanotti. You love Tom Kim.
I would be careful with Noren because everyone's gonna know the Noren narrative, right? So how do you work your way around him? In that price range. Like I don't have the prices right in front. He's all the way up at 9,000.
He's 9K, right?
I'd almost save some money, and I would go down to like Dietrich in that if you're like going between those two guys,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they got Matsuyama there, which everyone is always confused about what to do with Matsuyama. Is he going to withdraw? Is he going to blow up? He didn't have to open at all.
I mean, he could show up playing table tennis one day instead of playing golf and then withdraw from the golf.
You don't know. That's the thing. That's the other one. That's the other big one is Neiman, right? I mean, Neiman was a hot pick for about 54, 60 holes at the Open. But I said, I think reps on the Live Tour is difficult. I think it catches up with these guys with exceptions. I think Rahm and Bryson are built differently. But you even saw it with Brooks, right? Brooks, he's going to win the Open Thursday. And then you just see this fade factor. Neiman's 11th hole in the Open on the back 9 will stick in my head for a long time.
Well, yeah, that and the
I
day
think
before,
it's more expensive to take that risk.
Right? I just like, me at this point. If Neiman's going to burn me, he's going to burn me, but he hasn't burned me yet, and I got more history in my corner than he does, right? And I think probably at this point, if you asked Andy the same thing on Monday, I don't know if did you guys talk about Neiman? What did he say?
I think he's out.
Yeah,
I think people want to be in, but I think the stats would say that's a perfect spot for him. I just don't know if he has the reps.
Yeah, and he finished 10th in Japan, right? But Mito finished ahead of him. He finished in that tie for third, the 7-man playoff for the bronze. Mito was right there. So his own countrymen beat him in Japan. And he's always so expensive for the.
That's what I don't get. Yeah,
the rewards you get. I mean, like when somebody like last week, like Ben Griffin didn't make the cut for me and he was 55-1. I'm like, well, he was 55-1, like I expect that more of a 100-1 guy, but like, still like, he's still 50. Like sometimes we lose perspective on the numbers. The guy's still 55-1. Like,
yeah,
stuff could happen, Now, when a guy is like 20-1 and he misses the cut, I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, that was terrible value, right? And Neiman in all of these elite events has not brought a tremendous amount of value. And everyone always goes back to the same thing. Oh, well, he killed everybody at Riviera once. Well, okay, that's great. I think that's fantastic.
but he's on.
But like, he's got what? Like one top 10 in a major?
Yeah, and the other guy just north of that price, which we haven't talked about, which no one's talked about, is Victor Hovland, which, his Open Championship didn't do him any good. He's broken.
Yeah, I still think as much emphasis. I think that Le Golf National, the Albatross course there, is a really well-rounded test. I think, I heard Andy make this point the other day, and it was a great point. And what he said was that, they created this place like 30-something years ago. And in that time, they've had a Ryder Cup. They've hosted their national championship. It's become a premier event on the DP World Tour. And now they've had an Olympics. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
They must like the course.
Yeah, the course and the logistics surrounding it and everything. And, the way that they could host a tournament, these people must know what they're doing. Right. And they're going to put together a good, well-rounded test. I don't know them to be major worthy, but I think that somebody wins at 16 under, they're going to feel good about the way they played. They're going to know that they earned their gold medal, and everyone's going to say, like, man, that was exciting.
They're going to work this for the Frenchmen, aren't they? They're just going to do some home country razzle dazzle, and Perez and Pavone are just going to be there, aren't they? They're just going to do that.
Pavone's been a little shaky lately. Perez has been better than him lately. You'd love to bring the Pavone back from Torrey Pines that drove it straight, kept it out of the cabbage on a 8,000-yard golf course, and then could attack the heck out of this place and go nuts. Yeah. And he's certainly talented enough to do it, but I'm leaning Perez over Pavone for the home guys. And I definitely think the home guys will be fired up. I think that Hideki engaged in Japan. We've seen it with the swimmer kid now, like he won 2 golds this afternoon. A lot of these European athletes that are getting a lot of emotional support, it's worth something. I think, again, what's your motivation, right? Perez and Pavone have a ton of motivation at home. Like, they're the perfect age. They came in at the prime age of their career in their home country. They're hosting an Olympics. How many people does that line up for? Right. I mean, the next 4 years, it's going to be LA. So it's going to be for the Americans, but those guys, it's not going to be like, it probably won't be Scotty at 34 and Xander at 34. It's going to be somebody that's like, 20 years old right now or 22 years old or something like that,
I just did my medals. I've got the podium, and the names will shock you.
Who do you got?
Who's your gold medal winner? Then I'll say mine.
In Riviera or France?
France.
My gold medal winner is the Irish Bear, Shane Lowry.
Okay, mine's Rahm. No, sorry, it's not Rahm. I just gave away my silver. It's Xander. I'm going to go Xander. I'm just going to stop outthinking myself. Xander was untouchable at the Open. He's been untouchable this year in 2 majors. He played virtually flawless golf. You're right, Deegs. I can't just be cute with it. Xander wins the gold. Who's your silver?
Yeah. Rahm.
I'm Rahm. Okay. Rahm medals, silver. I think it's be Xander versus Rahm finish.
I think there's a silver medal playoff with like 5 dudes. Yeah. And then, it's a playoff for 2 spots, right? So they got a playoff twice. So Rahm wins the silver, and then Tom Kim wins the bronze. There you go.
I have Lowry winning the bronze.
Okay. Well,
you know what?
I like where your head's at.
You know what?
What?
Lowry could give Tom Kim the bronze on the final hole, but decides not to and flips him off. And then he flips off the crowd. And then he yells at the media.
And then Rory comes running out. No, Rory wouldn't come running out with an Irish flag. I take that back.
No. He's got a Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
all right. I like it. That's it. Who's DFL? Who's dead fucking last?
Great question. Probably Wyndham Clark.
Yeah. Kevin Yu. Horrific.
Yeah. I mean, It's some of those Discord guys. You need to start a church group. Like they meet in the church basement, like AA. DFS AA. Some of these guys they keep chasing. Keith Mitchell, man, is everyone done there? Are we done yet? Are we done? Did he finish DFL of everyone that made the cut? Unbelievable.
I'm just reading the Discord right now. All right.
Anything
great
good?
Show. Great show. Kevin Yu, horrific at 3M. Never again.
Be ready for a lot of points talk next week. Wyndham.
Yeah. We're getting
top
close.
70, top 125. Get the list ready.
Billy Maker. Let's go.